must get a doctor's note. I'm a grown-ass man, and I can tell when I am sick. I know my body a little bit better than a doctor does in terms of recovery, and if it is something I'm not sure about, I'll see a doctor. But my place of work has a silly rule that if you're going to be out 3 days, you have to have a doctor's note. Anyway, I got food poisoning the other day. It was the middle of the night, right before I was going to go in, before it started to hit, and I knew what was coming. It was going to be 36 hours of running to the bathroom, followed by 24 hours of being super tired from not having eaten for the last 2 days, and not having had any sleep for the last 48 hours. It's a full 3-day recovery for me. The first 36 really are the worst though. So I called in sick on Tuesday, and Wednesday, and was going to call in sick on Thursday too, to get my much needed rest and be 100% for work on Friday. I know this is what was going to happen, but when I called in this morning, I was told I have to get a doctor's note to miss this day. It's stupid, because what is a doctor going to tell me that I don't already know? But my doctor also hates these types of rules, so she had my back. I went to her this morning and told her what my work said. She asked if maybe I have had chills during this time being sick. So I said yes. She said she doesn't feel comfortable saying it was just food poisoning and is going to have to say it could have been the stomach flu. She's writing me a note to be out until Monday now. So now I have 2 days of just rest and relaxation, followed by the weekend. Thanks for forcing me to go to the doctor. I think most places have that rule where you have to get a doctor's note if it's going to be 3 days or more you're out. I know most of the places I've worked at least had it. When I worked at Walmart, there was this one employee who missed 4 days of work due to being sick. And while I was talking to him, this manager came up, and I'm not sure that they're allowed to do this in front of employees. I think they have to bring them into the office, but he did this regardless. He came up and said, "Hey Paul, you missed 4 days last week and didn't bring us a note. You're going to either have to get us a note, or you're going to be fired, or possible legal charges will be applied." I started laughing when he said legal charges, and I told him to turn around. I was going to cuff him, and the manager scowled at me. Don't turn left. Okay. I work as a delivery driver, delivering large items to businesses and occasionally homes. The company uses big box trucks, kind of like a U-Haul, with 2 people per vehicle. Because of my age, I wasn't allowed to drive the trucks, so my partner, let's call him Dom, did all the driving. We had an agreement that he would drive, but I would do a little more lifting and other tasks in return. I finally turned 21, and my boss said I was cleared to start driving. This was great, and Dom and I agreed to split all the work 50-50, including driving. A problem started the minute I first got behind the wheel. It turns out that Dom is a huge backseat driver. It's scary enough driving a huge truck for the first time, let alone having a guy telling me how to drive. A few weeks passed, and I'm tired of the backseat driving. Cue malicious compliance. We were sent to a location to pick up a few items from a business. I'm unfamiliar with the location, but Dom lives in the area. I set the GPS and start driving. About 5 minutes in, the GPS tells me to turn. Dom tells me there is an easier way, so don't turn. I keep going straight. 10 minutes later, the GPS tells me to turn, but Dom gets mad this time. "Why are you turning?" "Because that's what the GPS said to do." "I know the way. Don't turn until I say." "Okay, whatever." So I don't turn. I took over a few minutes later, and Dom is fast asleep in the passenger seat. I keep going straight like he wants me to, and wait for his instructions. It takes him a good hour to wake up and realize the huge problem. We are a good 60 miles from the pickup location. He wasn't happy at all, and we were a good 2 hours late. He asked me why I didn't turn, and I told him I was waiting for him to tell me. I appreciate the dedication to the malicious compliance, seeing as you probably got chewed out by your bosses. But I guess you do gotta listen to your elders. He was glaring at the back of your head. I'm doing a group project in college, and it reminded me of an unfortunate project I had to do in high school. It still makes me shiver when I think about it. But I think I had the last laugh. My senior year was a nightmare. My workload was way more than I was expecting. College application considered, I was regularly working on homework for up to 12 hours a day. That put me at going to bed at 3 a.m. and waking up at 5 to get to my early morning class. I'd bitten off more than I could chew, but there was no going back by the time I realized my mistake. I worked myself until I was physically sick more than once, and I was a wreck all around for months with stress and sleep deprivation. So that's the kind of mental state I was in when the AP LIT teacher had us doing a group project for multiple test grades on Hamlet. We picked the topics as groups. I was put with 2 guys who were pretty quiet. I'm not a leader type, and I'm sure I was awkward about it, but I had an idea for a thesis, and they just kind of shrugged. We had a Google Doc open, and I was shocked to watch them copy and paste random sentences and then delete them for our entire research time in class. I didn't call them out, but I made sure to set clear boundaries on what each of us was doing, so I wouldn't get stuck with the whole project. It was a lot of work, and our applications for college were going in. I did a good job on my slides, and the night before the presentation, I had this nagging feeling to check their slides. We were told that we would be graded as a group regardless, so my grade hinged on their participation. I was on a roll, and had finished all my homework by 11:30, and was looking forward to not feeling like crap in the morning for the first time in weeks. I still remember the utter devastation that hit me when I opened the PowerPoint to see absolutely nothing. 9 white slides and no citations. I checked the clock, pulled out my copy of Hamlet, wiped away some angry tears, and got to work after I broke a few pencils stabbing them into my desk. Finished about the time I had to go wake up for school at 4:30. My LIT class was first, so I hadn't crashed yet and had some righteous fury keeping me going. I guess they both just thought that I would never sacrifice the points. They were right. And do everything for them, so they could just read my notes and fudge the presentation. They were not right. I knew that my teacher was a minimalist and didn't want a lot of words on the slides, so I didn't put any. So this is where the MC comes in. I pulled up my slides, deliberately stood in front of one of them, and started my presentation. I talked fast, and I knew the material. I remember catching the horrified eye of my partner when he realized what I had done by the 5th or 6th slide. I didn't want anyone to think I was a jerk, so I turned to him and went quiet for one slide. He stared at the cryptic title of the slide and the artsy diagram I'd made out of lines and captionless pictures. For a while, and then he took a stab in the dark. I went on to correct him, and I kept going. So to the audience, it was clear why I was the only one talking. I had done all the work. I noticed some kids laughing in the back, and I was scared that I was being too obvious. But I blew through the rest of the presentation and passed out for the rest of the class on my desk. The girl next to me tapped me on the shoulder after class to wake me up and say I did a good job. I asked her why she had been laughing. She said that the guy I had stood in front of to present had glared at the back of my head menacingly for the whole 20-minute presentation that I did entirely alone. It must have looked pretty comical because I was a tiny, 5'2", sleep-deprived zombie nerd girl in the same outfit I'd worn the day before, and he was a much cooler, effortless jock type who was coasting through his senior year. My teacher still marked us down for the uneven participation, but I still walked away with an 86 while I wrote a note to her, getting them failing grades. I got sick shortly after this and missed 3 days of school, bedridden. I still think about those 2 idiots sometimes, and I hope they've been let down by every group project they've ever undertaken, because that one nearly killed me. Jerks. Oh my god, OP's a savage. I can't really talk too much because I was kind of a slacker in high school. I always tried to help, and I was always pretty good at doing my fair share of work on the project, but I was an absolutely terrible public speaker. Which is kind of funny that I'm doing this now, but I mean, at least I don't have to see you guys looking at me. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to check the description of this video to find out what tomorrow's video will be about. So without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next video.